Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of No Stigma. And today I have the very special Marcio in the
What's
house.
happening? What's happening?
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Anytime.
I feel that actually before I even go there, I think one of the things I always do with every single guest that comes on my show is a well-being check-in. Obviously, this is a mental health Stigma. Stigma mental health podcast. And the objective of the podcast is to speak about different mental health, particularly with men, and just explore and break stigmas around different types of mental health.
Yeah.
So one thing I like to do is do well-being check-ins. And well-being check-in is just me seeing how you are, how your mind is, how your heart is, and I like to separate these things because sometimes it's good for us to sort of do it. Well, how's my heart is today? How's my mind today? Because it's nice to kind of just actually sit in there and be like, I'm all right. So I'm going to throw that to you now. So how are you generally doing today or this past week?
Do you know what? For the last couple weeks, I've been the happiest I've ever been. Literally, I've kind of go through my fiance calls it spiritual awakening. I've kind of gone through my spiritual awakening recently. I've been going to church. I hit a point where it was just like a breakdown of like it's either do or die. I've got a family to raise, got 2 little boys. Got a fiance to keep happy. Got a house to maintain. So throughout my life, I've wasted a lot of time in just not worrying about putting me first and worrying about healing myself. So ever since I've done that, it's like my life has just changed night and day. Literally, it happened on the spot. So I'm in a very happy place right now.
That's lovely to know.
Not gonna lie.
So today, we're going to speak about various things, and I think one of the things that we touched on that I wanted to bring in is the impact that our childhood traumas that we've experienced in our child, how it forms us as adults, because especially in therapy, we always talk about the inner child and the injured inner child, right? So what happens is we become adults, but that inner child is still part of us, right? And a lot of times when we haven't dealt with our past childhood traumas, that inner child is still there, and that can project into our adulthood. So it can conform the different types of attachment styles that we have, and whether we've got disorganized attachments, anxious attachments, or secure attachment, whatever it is, whatever wounded parts of our inner child have is what we eventually, as we grow up as adults, we then start projecting it into our relationships, into our friendships, even the relationship that we have with ourselves, how we see ourselves, and how we feel like others also see us, right? But I feel like particularly with men's mental health, even though it's becoming much more common, and praise the Lord for that we're having more conversations around that. But it's still, even within our community, even within the Angola community, African community, it's still very like a taboo stigma. But we're getting there slowly. But the whole point of this, the more we talk about it, the more we break those stigmas, and the more other men speak on mental health issues, the more then it gives other men the confidence, that actually being vulnerable is not a sign of weakness. Being vulnerable is actually saying, I'm human, and I feel all of those things, and it's okay for me to actually just speak and say, I feel a certain type of way. I've gone through certain things in life, and that kind of like broke me, but it has shaped me to the person that I am today. So in saying that, I'm gonna come to you and kind of in terms of your challenges growing up from from your childhood, what parts of your childhood you feel, whether it's your early childhood or whether in your teen years, that you feel had an impact on you growing up?
It was definitely my early childhood, without a doubt.
Your early childhood, yeah.
Early child. Before I came here, I think I came here in 97, 98, I can't remember. I know I was around 7 or 8, not later than that. It definitely shaped who I was for a very long time till as early as 4 months ago. Like, is when I've really started to separate and give the inner child closure.
I love that, giving
like,
your inner child closure.
Yeah, I had to, because you can't. It won't let you be an adult unless you give it closure and let it relax, and then you can then be an adult and keep that inner child for happy moments. So I had a rough upbringing, rough. Good, very good. I always had everything I ever wanted, so I can't knock that down. From my parents, love them to bits, still to this day. Don't hold them down for anything. I wasn't the best child. I was Dennis the Menace. I was not. I traumatized everyone, but I had a good heart, and which is what I found hard to understand, that I've done so much hurt to people in the past growing up because of what I've been through, but people still love me, people still accept me, and I found hard dealing with that inside. And what was is that my dad was very strict, so it'll be, and I still strict to the point where if I have more times remembering when I wasn't beaten than I do when I was having a good times. So I had more memories of me being punished physically, emotionally as well. Then I do have times of going to the bar, playing football and whatnot. So that left a lot of scars in me, to the point where it got as bad as in sometimes I got beaten so bad I couldn't go to school for a week because I had bruises, physical bruises, and I couldn't physically move properly. And I was always, I wouldn't say A star, but I was always top of the class growing up in Angola. If you don't pass, you stay behind. You can be 20 and be in year 5. So I never failed. So,
don't make me laugh. You can be 20, be in year 5. Nah, let it go.
It's just
let
real.
It go.
It is real. So like, I never failed. I always have to get excellent or very good. And to know how bad it was, I'll come back home, even though I passed the exam. My father would make me resit it again at home, and I had to get the same mark or better. So that caused a lot of stress in my mind because I couldn't go out and play out with my friends. I couldn't go out and do things what my cousins did. I couldn't go out to my cousins' parties. I had to stay home and study. I remember one time where I failed. I think I got a satisfactory, which was how they graded you, and I was beaten to the point where he was sweating. And I no throwing shade on my dad. He probably doesn't know better. I've grown enough to understand that he maybe needs healing as well. But yeah, to the point where my auntie, my great aunt, rest in peace her soul, she's had to get in between, and the neighbours were complaining there's too much noise, not because of the music, because of me crying and shouting. So growing up in that kind of environment, and then coming over here, where so much is frowning a kid in public, you can go to jail. Do you know what I'm saying? It was different. And I didn't know how to handle that. So I felt as freedom, I can do whatever I want. So that's why I did a lot of stupid stuff, but as a normal kid.
Do you feel like from when you got here, it was almost like a rebellious, or it's almost like,
100%.
You know what, F you, now 100%. I can do what I want to do.
100%. And I gave my mum a hard time for that. She was raising 2 boys just here in Custom House. I was never involved in gangs and all that stuff, but I saw a lot of those things happening growing up. So I gave my mum a hard time because I wanted to go out, I wanted to be a man. I know my dad was not around as much because he lived back in Angola. He couldn't beat me, he couldn't do this. So yeah, I acted out. I got in with bad crowds sometimes. I got in with good crowds sometimes. And yeah, so that's why I feel like I never truly healed from my trauma. I just tried to bottle it up and then move it away and act like everything was okay, but it wasn't.
Did you feel in those moments when you were a child, did you feel ever understood by your dad? Did you feel ever heard or seen by your dad? In your childhood?
It's in my childhood. It's
hard
more about
to say. How you felt in that moment. Not what necessarily what now maybe you see it as, but in that moment as a child when you was going through that, did you feel like, you know, my dad doesn't know who I am. He doesn't see me. He doesn't understand me. Did you feel misunderstood?
Every time.
Okay.
Every time. I thought sometimes like I wasn't even his child. I thought sometimes that maybe I was adopted. I think some people go through that, but I genuinely felt like I wasn't understood. I was always called the black sheep of the family. I was always called, Marsha's naughty this, Marsha's doing this, Marsha did that. A lot of it is true, but like never thought that I was understood. And I learned how to blame other people. It's only into very recent when I've learned to blame myself and try and teach myself how to better myself. And like I said, like give my inner child its final kind of conclusion and say, look, this is what you've been through. I see it, and I need to heal you, give you closure, so then you can let me be a man and be a dad and be a good fiance and soon to be husband.
So what did your inner child, so going back to your inner child, right? So, because it's interesting, the reason why I ask you is because a lot of the times when you, when a child doesn't, even as adults, when we don't feel seen or heard, you know, it's almost like we don't exist. And what do we do with that? And as a child, it was interesting when you said, I came to the UK. When I came to the UK, it was almost like my, you know what, I'm gonna, it's like that rebellious,
I'm free now.
You know, I'm free. But then you start seeking parts of you to other groups of people. Like you start trying to find almost like a sense of belonging, and finding a sense of identity as well. So where was that journey? And do you feel like, you know, how did that journey kind of
from when I came here?
So in terms of like, because you said you start you know, associating yourself with different types. It's that journey as a youngster.
So when I came here, I wanted to kind of like finally be seen for who I am and what I can do. And so
how did you do that?
So this is it. So even though most of the people that I grew up with were pretty much in the same area, I started going to different areas, meeting new people. I was heavy online on MSN days, just meeting people from outside London, from inside London. There was a funny thing around our group of friends from Custom House, and they were like, why are you always going outside the area, blah, blah, blah. And I was always cussing them, why are you only in the area, blah, blah, blah. So even though I had them and they were my original friends, I was still going out to meet more people outside. Like, I never felt like I had enough friends. I wanted to be known, I wanted to be seen, I wanted to be bait.
Or do you want to be accepted because you was never accepted?
Yeah.
Or felt maybe that you was never accepted.
100%. And that became almost my day-to-day kind of thing. Like, I need to be accepted, I need to be seen, I need to be like, Marshall, you're doing bad, you're this and that. I needed that kind of like
validation.
It fueled me, like it literally fueled me. Because although I got it for some people that love me, they didn't matter because I felt like they were just saying, oh, it's not because we're family. Oh, it's okay, I love you. I felt like it was fake. So I tried to go out there to meet new people to see what they would think of me. So I'll go above and beyond to help them out. I'll go above and beyond to do things I didn't have to do, just to get that sort of like validation that way. Marshall, no, you're the guy, you know, you're cool, this and that. And majority of my childhood, it was that. And then I got to myself, I don't know how, but I ended up in West End. I ended up doing events. I ended up meeting celebrities. I ended up going outreach, and I feel like that fueled that kind of need for validation even more. I became a bit vain. I stopped hanging around with my real friends. I started hanging around people in West End. Almost everyone I dated before was never from East London. So that's where I felt like I couldn't stay in one spot. I had to go out there and branch, and the world needed to hear me because I've been so caved into one little hole that when I got a little bit of escapism, as you say it, I went loose, and you would hardly ever find me out.
But in that moment, what do you feel like? What was you offering your inner child in that moment? You think
nothing. I was just trying to feed the need to keep myself happy, so I don't have to think about the bad stuff that's going on in my life. I had to just keep myself distracted. So
it was more of a distraction thing.
It was more of a distraction thing. So there's a time where I was partying from Monday to Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I got into the events kind of thing because it's always parties, people always under the influence. So people always going to give you the recognition that you're kind of looking for. Even though back in my mind, I knew it wasn't real. It felt good at the time. And when I go out and I'm in table with bottles there, I feel like I'm at a position where I want to be, like I'm known, I'm noticed. And I did that for majority of my childhood, going into my teenage years, going into my adulthood. Late, I can say that I blossomed very late because I was still trying to hide for somebody that I wasn't healing from. And then it got so bad that I wasn't even caring about my health.
So let's just go from there. So when do you feel, so those are like you said, so you experiencing your early traumas, particularly obviously with your relationship with your dad, where you felt like you wasn't accepted, you didn't feel validated by your dad, and like you said, like, you know, in his perspective, he's doing what he thinks is right because we don't know how he was raised. And it's one of those things where we're like, you know, if we remove that parent title from them, they're just another human being. They're just another man.
Yeah.
But it's not to say that they shouldn't also take accountability for the things that they have done. But it's like you said. But what do I now have to? How do I now process and deal with the what was presented to me as a child?
Yeah.
And then you, like you said, as you came here, you got like freedom, and then everything that you almost wanted as a child, that sense of like acceptance and validated and being heard and seen. You was like, people are going to see who I am. 100%. People are going to hear who Marcio is. 100%. People, and it's almost like became an addiction, seeking that validation 100%. From other people, and that's what you did, and you start creating this chaotic, almost lifestyle that. It became so busy and so much outside noise where you didn't allow yourself to sit still enough to hear what was going on really inside. Correct. So if we're going from there now, where did that journey then went?
Do you want a breakdown where it started and where it ended?
Just maybe highlights of where you think, like, where from that, where do you kind of remember the darkest, where it led to your darkest moments of your life?
Oh, 100%. 100%. So, C, who was also here, Claudio, he's someone who's been very strict on kind of who I was. Because he gave me a lot of appraisal, even when I was going through a dark time. He gave me a lot of appraisal. And one thing that he told me that really helped me, and that's when I started kind of paying attention to myself, is that we had a deep conversation one day, and we always do. And he said, there's one time when I was in a really dark place and you helped me, but I didn't tell you, and I didn't know how to approach it to you, but you helped me, and till this day you haven't asked me for anything in return. And I was like, why would I ask you for everything in return? Like, it's just what I thought this is what we do. And even though we wasn't together all the time, he's been a massive he was a massive reason why I decided to change my life to the better. Oh wow, that's amazing. And it's not even a thing because he's younger than me or whatnot, because he's also someone that's had to be grown from a very young age. We all have, like, so we've had to be the man of the house and whatnot, and so it started off at my highest when I had everything in the world. I had a modeling agency. I was hosting parties, there's people calling me, I was doing video shoots, I was having like penthouse parties and whatnot. That was a very high stage of my life. If you want to talk about like achievements and whatnot, even though I went out and looked for all those validation, I achieved a lot of things and I learned a lot of skills that's helping me now in my day to day. And even though not all relationships were good, I did make a lot of friendships that are still lasting till this day. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm very proud of that. So it's something that it was a negative, like a double-edged sword. I got bad, but I also got good out of it. So that helped me learn how to tell the difference between good and bad. And when it got to its lowest, is when I think it was when it got to its lowest is when I had a little cut on my foot. Okay. And like I said, I wasn't looking after my health, so I just thought, wash it. And from that little cut on my foot, it's like a little splinter. It infected my blood. So over a period of 2 years, it was stopping my heart. Yeah. And I didn't know this, and I just thought I was losing weight. I was at the gym at that time. I was pumping up. I thought I was losing weight. But when I went to see my GP, and he said, "Hold on, you was here 3 months ago. You weighed so and so. You've now lost 6 stones."
You lost 6 stones in 3 months.
3 months. Yeah, I went from, I think it was 17 stone to 11, 10.
From a cut?
From a cut in my foot, yeah. So my heart was stopping. It was stopping my heart. So first they stopped one valve.
So it was an infection?
Yeah, from a little infection, a little cut in my foot. Yeah, to the point, and the reason I noticed it was bad when I started walking past friends that I was with on an everyday basis, and they walked straight past me. They won't recognize me. Yeah, that's when I thought something serious. Even my mum, when she came back and I went to see her, she walked past like in the airport. I said, "Mom, my mum." She looked back, and the way she looked at me, I'll never forget those eyes. Like her eyes lit up. And in that time, I was in a relationship, and like got to the point where my partner thought at the time she thought I was cheating, because it got to the point where I couldn't be intimate with her. I'll be there, we'll be getting ready, we'll be setting the mood and everything. Nothing. Like literally, and I was just like, I made a joke about it. I was like, nah, there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. Nah, you're just sleeping with other girls. I did.
So it was affecting like your sexual performance as well as a man. Wow.
Yeah. My body was basically shutting down bit by bit by bit by bit. But because at the time I didn't smoke, I don't smoke now. I didn't smoke. I didn't really drink heavily. I didn't take drugs. My body, and I was healthy. My body was fine to keep me alive. That's what the doctor said. The doctor said every time I went to see the doctor, they said I had a chest infection. It's not common. Yeah, they said I had a chest infection. So there'll be times where I'll be coughing out blood.
Wow.
I thought I had cancer as well. I'd be coughing out blood. I was always fatigued. My lips always dry. And I started fitting in my little brother's clothes. And Rhea was like 12 at the time. I'm telling you,
wow.
One time I put his shirt on, and I was like, oh, I've never seen his shirt before. And I went and I was thinking, shit, this is Rue's shirt. Yeah, I was like proper. And I looked in the mirror and I was like bones. And then come to find out that 3 of my valves had stopped working. And it was only one, and my heart had grew inside to try and keep me alive.
My God.
Yeah, went GP said I had a chest infection. Went New Hampshire, no, they said I had swine flu. This time the swine flu was in fashion.
Fashion. That was a trend. COVID, you didn't even know about that.
Exactly. And so when I saw my mum, we went from Heathrow straight to that Portuguese, that Dr. Monteiro clinic, rest his soul. We went from there to there. And even he couldn't say what was wrong with me because my body was working fine because I was young. It was like fighting against time. My body's young, it's telling me I'm healthy, all the tests, but I don't look healthy. So they were trying to find out what is going on.
Wow. So it took...
Yeah, it took him like 2-3 weeks to find out what was actually going on. Yeah.
So how did they find out? So when was that when they found out?
He just put that heart thing in my chest and he put it there. You could hear my heart beating and he went around and he couldn't hear the other valves. So he was like, wait, what? So he went back around. He did it like 4 times, and he couldn't hear the other valves beating.
Wow.
He didn't believe I was gonna survive. So then I went from there. He didn't even tell me. He asked me to step out of the room. I went to the waiting room. He's speaking to my mum. My mum came out crying.
Okay.
I was like, what's wrong? And he just said, look, I know New York. I told him about New York. I know what they did. I said, where do you want to go? Where do you think is another hospital nearby that you trust? I said, well, Whips Cross. I've been Whips Cross a couple of times. So they sent me to Whips Cross. And I'm there thinking I'm just going to get antibiotics and I'm going to go home. So I go to Whips Cross. They took me to the A&E. They took me to see the head cardiologist. And I was finding that a bit sus. They kept me in that day. So they kept me in that day. The next morning I was woke up at like 5 in the morning with like 6 doctors around me. And they were like, we're going to send you to Barts. And I was like, why? And this is like early 20s. And I was like, why? Oh, no. I said, my friend, you don't understand. You need to go to Barts now. I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm fine. Just give me antibiotics, I'll be fine. I said, you don't understand. You know you're supposed to be alive.
Wow.
And I was just like, what, are you serious? She was like, yeah. I said, if you don't go, you won't be here by the weekend.
By the weekend.
Yeah. It's literally like that. The guy said, like, it's like they were looking at ghosts. Like, literally 6 of them. It was quite intimidating. A dark room, and they're all like looking at that. Like, how is this guy still here talking to us? So I come to find out I had endocarditis, which is a virus that attacks the heart. And it only attacks people from the 50s upwards. I was the youngest case I've ever seen.
No way.
Yeah. So they sent me to Barts. So this Barts is still private. And then at the time I was talking to my dad, and that's the first time I've ever seen him scared. There's that, and when his brother passed away when he was in Angola, I've ever seen him like, I could hear it in his voice, but he was still trying to be strong. Don't worry, son, I'll pay for anything, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, you don't understand, the currency is different. This is a serious thing. So I asked the doctors, like, how much does this operation cost? And he said, oh, it'll be in the 100,000s, this operation. But they take me to the side and said, listen, you're young. We can save you, but we can't guarantee it. But we will try and save you. Because we want to learn what you have. And we basically wanted to use me as a guinea pig. Because I'll be able to survive the treatment. So they said, if you sign a disclaimer, let us do it. We will save you, no costs. And so I had to sign a disclaimer with a priest there praying for me.
Oh my God! How did that? No, but how did that honestly feel in that moment? Like it's like someone telling you your destiny, and you're like it's like you're signing a 50-50 chance of your life. So how did that feel in that moment?
It's weird. It's like everything was just silent. Like my ears were ringing. Like it was silent, but it was at a point where I was like, do risk of surviving and risk of dying, don't you die anyway. So I had no choice. And at a young age, that really affected me. And it's funny because I have a friend that's currently just gone through that, and he said I really helped him when I sat down. I told him, listen, you're gonna go through this, that, step by step, and he said it really helped him. So yeah, I signed a disclaimer. They had to basically take my blood every day. There was nurses that I thought I was in there for drugs because I had red dots everywhere. I don't think there's a place in my body that I haven't stuck a needle.
Wow.
I had to give blood every day. There was a cardiologist, Mr. Wong, that he's a leading cardiologist in the UK. He's one of the royal family's doctors as well. I don't know if he's still now, but he was able to build a machine and put it in my heart. But even then, there's no guarantee I'll survive. So yeah, and then that's another disclaimer I had to sign as well for the operation. And they kept me in there. They kept me in life support machines. They took my blood every day. They created a virus. And then after they created the virus, they had to find a way how to kill it. When they found a way to kill it, they had to find a way how to kill it safely for a human body to take. So the whole time I was just like, yeah, go and do it. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go and put tubes into.
Did you feel like you at that particular moment you just accepted whatever would be? What put you through that though?
It is actually funny. There's a guy called Dean King. He's a director now. He was sitting in the bed opposite for me. He was in Greenwich and he was bitten by a bug. So randomly his heart will stop for 30 seconds. Yeah, he'll be in the cinema, his heart will stop. So he was actually never treated. And on the day, and he used to always talk to me. He said, "Nah, he's a proper upbeat guy." And I said, "Nah, you'll be alright, mate. Don't worry about me. They can't even trick me. Like, at least you can find out what you got. Me, no one knows what I have."
He got bitten by a bug and it affected his heart.
So like he said, he'll go to the cinema, and it happened when we were talking. Actually, one day he was talking and he just collapsed. And I'm calling the nurse. By the time the nurse came, he's already awake. What happened? Did it happen again? It was weird.
That's so crazy.
And
he was scary at the same time.
He was the youngest person. I mean, I was the youngest person in the entire ward. There was a guy there that was from the war. It was the youngest after me was like 50s.
Wow.
Like literally all these old men.
Yeah,
the nurses loved me.
Yeah.
So the day of the operation they came. The pastor prayed for me for like an hour, which I think it made it worse. Then Dr. K says, "You need to sign this." And I said, "Yeah, I'll sign." I said, "No, you need to understand what you're signing." So he said, "Look, this operation is going to go ahead. It's going to be around 18 hours. He said, even said, "I don't know if you'll make it, but I will try and bring you back." And I was just like, "No, just do what you got to do, man." And then that night, I didn't have an MP3 at the time, and he was like, "Here, man, take my MP3." So I listened to Rod Stewart, Baby Jane, or repeat throughout the whole night, and that helped me. Till the next morning. I know the whole lyrics to the song, and in the morning, Barts were really helpful. They are top notch. Like literally, the help I got. There's times I forgot I was even in there. For this kind of reason. So the woman took me in. The woman spoke to me one last time. Said, "We're gonna put you under. We'll see you on the other side." And yeah, they had the operation.
And then
it was successful. Well, I think it's 2 or 3 days later, I woke up.
Wow.
Yeah, and my uncle at the time had a video in the room. The doctor saying to, "Look, I've done what I've done. If your son wakes up, he wakes up. If he doesn't, I'm sorry."
So you're literally like a living testimony. Because really,
you
you shouldn't be sitting here next to me.
I should.
You really shouldn't be sitting here next to me, but you are
shouldn't.
here. So you're like a living testimony.
Yeah. And that was also another part where they offered me mental health, and again, I became defensive. I was just like, no, I'm fine. I can do it myself. Done it before I do it myself.
When they offered you that mental health support, what was the resistance?
It's just like, I'll be weak if I accept it. Just being from the background I came from, like a strict dad. Like you can't say, "Oh, I'm tired." You can't say, "Oh, I'm crying." You couldn't show weakness.
So vulnerability was a weakness.
It was almost non-existent and unaccepted. So I just I was like, I would like to go for therapy for what you've been through, because a lot of people do need it. And I was just like, nah, I made a joke out of it. The doctor that actually saved me, Dr. Monteiro, my mum called him. I was like, "Oh, doctor, my son's here. He's so thankful." And then she put him on loudspeaker. He was like, "Listen, Tia, like, I understand how you're dealing with loss, but I'm sorry, my condolences that he tried to save your son. But he's gone now. Just pray for him that he's in a better place." And she was like, "No, you don't understand. He's alive." He was like, "No, come on now, be serious. You don't have to lie to me." And she was like, "No, you don't understand. He's alive." And he just like, "How is this possible?" And he spoke to me. It was like, he's Brazilian. I was like, "Amigo, tá vivo, no." So he was shocked that I survived. He was like, "I didn't think you're gonna dance again," because at the time when I was hanging around with the KIG crew, they were the head, shoulders, knees and toes, and I told him about the song. and she was on the fact that people do genuinely love me, people that don't know me. And I didn't have to go out and seek validation for him to love me, but it's just who I was as a person. And even like going into childhood, no matter what I've been through, I was always helping others. I was always putting help, and I get it from my mom. She was just, I got that good part of her that I never let go of. So I was very loved no matter what I was going through. So I always had people to support me, but because I was going back to my dad, it was like it all been back to square one. So yeah, so that really, and then after the operation, my mum went back to Angola for a little while. Um, I couldn't do things I could do before. I did, and I found that one of the hardest thing to accept. I couldn't get into fights. Not that I get into fights, but I
Yeah,
had to worry.
physical.
Yeah, I had to worry about what I ate. I
Yeah,
had
because
to.
now it's you
Yeah,
now you're very conscious about how do I take care of my health now,
yeah.
because now it's almost like
And I wasn't taught that how to take care of my health, so
yes,
I didn't know
yes,
what
yes,
to do. I
yes,
was
yes, yes, yes,
confused,
yes,
so I just
yes.
did what I knew. I just carried on
Okay.
living my life like there was no
Yeah,
tomorrow, and that kind of helped me push over the edge a little bit. I started to experiencing new things. I started to try new drugs. Mom, I'm sorry. I started just alcohols. I started hanging around with different crowds.
Is that and why was that? Is it because you was trying to process what you was really feeling inside?
100%, 100%.
And what was you really feeling inside within that time?
I felt that's the time I felt the most vulnerable
Okay.
because I was so fragile. I felt fragile. I felt weak. And so whatever was inside of me to showboat that I wasn't that came out twice as full. So I was at that was at the lowest where like a simple punch in the chest and I'm done. That was at some I fooled the
Oh,
wrong.
so hence why you said you couldn't even get physical with anyone in that
Nah,
sense. So you
nah,
really had to.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It was crazy, and then I went to find friends in bad places. So I went to the extreme where instead of being in a safe and comfort, yeah, just West End, go home. I started going Camden, started going Brixton, started going Stratford
The
Reds.
old Brixton.
The old
Not
Brixton,
this
not this
new.
kind of Brixton. Yeah, I started hanging around with Peckham, Elephant and Castle. I was kind of moving away from the central kind of scene. I started going into like raves,
Well, that's
and
very interesting.
that
The
is.
fact that you actually, it's almost like, yeah, you went against your natural,
Yeah,
which was to keep yourself safe. To
yeah. No, I
it's
went
almost
off
like
the
again you're
rails.
trying to prove something to yourself.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I definitely went off the rails, and then when I was having parties in my house 24/7. Neighbors hate me. There was probably a day where I wasn't sober. The girl that was I was with before I had an operation, she actually messaged one of the KIG guys, and he was actually she was just trying to be friendly with him, and he was like, "No, Marshall's in hospital. He went for operation. Ah, no, stop backing him up. He was cheating on me. He went to find another woman, and he actually this is weird. So the way me and him became friends, I knew him before we met in the kind of industry kind of vibe. There was another person that I was with where he was starting talking to her when she was with me. So one day she made me give him directions, saying it was his cousins down to her house. I didn't know that until when we started talking, and he was like, "Wait, are you Marcia from so and so? You live in East London?" I was like, "How do you know about me?" So we spoke before, you know, so and so and so. I said, "Yeah, that was me." I was like, "Raw," and I was like, "Yeah, and I'm not her cousin." I was like, "Raw," and we became close. We became really close, and like again, these are people that I met that I thought were just there for the parties, from the vibe, but they came to see me in hospital. Like they were there for me, and I was just like, raw. That I proper appreciate people I didn't speak to on an everyday basis came to see me in hospital. Even the girl as well I used to talk to, she was so good, and I treated her so bad. So bad. I think to this day, whenever I see her, I say I'm sorry. She's like, "Can you stop apologizing, Marcia?"
Because you wasn't happy with
Yeah, I
yourself.
wasn't happy with myself, and
You know what I mean?
she was always trying to take me out. That kind of she's trying to help me. She loved Portuguese. She wanted to learn Portuguese,
But just
and
to kind of
whatnot.
hold on that, because it's such an important point to make is that, we, it's really our responsibility to heal ourselves.
Yeah,
Because everyone can, there's going to be people around you that are going to want to help you. But really, if you are not ready to receive that help,
yeah,
it doesn't matter how much people want to save you. If you don't want to save yourself, those people are going to ultimately drown with
yeah.
you
That's a
if
lesson
you're
I
not
learned.
able
Yeah,
to do that. And that's such an important message to kind of put out
it
there,
is. It is. Yeah,
because loads of people are in relationships sometimes because they love those people, but it's really not your.
it's
You
not.
can motivate, but you have to get to a point where that person has to actually say, you know, I
Yeah.
want the help I need, and take accountability. Yeah,
Oh, I never took accountability for
exactly.
nothing.
So
I used to blame everyone
everyone.
under the sun.
And why do you feel
Everyone.
like you used to blame everyone?
Because it's just like, in my mind, I thought to myself, I've been through so much, I can't be that much of a bad person. I kept telling myself that they're always bad and I'm good. Because the people that told me that I was good, I held on to that. Because even till this day, I've never gotten so much as I'm proud of you, son. And that's, for me, that's giving my inner child closure. That I'm proud of you because I've achieved so much. I've gone to uni. I've never done anything bad. I've done everything that I was asked to do. Maybe I didn't go and become a doctor or a lawyer, which in these days is second-rate jobs anyway. People can work in construction and earn more than doctors. You know what I mean? So like, but I was still good to the point that I studied. I went all the way up to university, and I actually felt ill while I was taking my last exam. And I took the NHS to court and I won. So in the spate of me dealing with the operation,
Your health
there you
and all
go.
of that, and your mental health.
There's 40K.
Yeah.
Do what you want with it. That's what fed for me to even go into extreme. I forgot to mention that I got compensation. Yeah, so that just added fuel to the fire. I went off the rail, and then I ended up meeting a girl. She's a good person. She has a bad thing, but she's a good person. But I ended up finding out heavier drugs. Get to a point I was spending around £500 a week. And the only thing I had to show for the money that I got from my operation was I bought a watch, a Hublot watch. I didn't even know what that watch is today. But yeah, that definitely led me through a dark path where it was like live fast, die young kind of thing.
So that was your mentality.
That was my
and
mentality.
It's so interesting. You literally got was it a safe? Was it a life-saving operation?
Yeah.
Where
a second chance in life.
A second chance in life.
and I didn't take it.
That was giving that second chance. She was like, "This is what I'm going to do the second." Ain't that crazy?
Yeah, it was like literally.
So
I wanted to live to the fullest.
Did you make it all right? So you've gone through. So what was the bottom of that to say to yourself, like, no, I can't live my life?
Homelessness. I ended up getting put in the street. Council kicked me out of the house.
So you became
the last money that the thing, I bought everything new for the house, new windows, new sofa. It was when I got kicked out, things didn't even leave the boxes. Like it was still in the boxes. And Rue was at uni. My little brother was at uni for his last year, so all the money I had left, I think I gave him some for uni for campus to pay for his campus, and then packed up my duffel bag and I was gone. I was. Some of my friends still don't believe me, and I've told my parents that they didn't even believe half of the story that I told them. Yeah, I was sleeping in the streets. I was walking around in the streets. I was like in Stratford with all them homeless people, just waiting for people to come and give you food. I've been through that, and then I ended up going to a British Heart Foundation in Barking, where like I had to sign up to walk to different churches every time to where you're gonna sleep. So every night, 6 o'clock, I had to walk back to Barking, sign in, and they'll tell you, okay, today you're gonna sleep in a church in Chadwell Heath. All right, today you're gonna sleep in a church in Romford.
So you think that was like your wake up call then?
That was my wake up call because I was seeing people that was genuinely doing these things to themselves, killing themselves with alcohol, drugs, and all that stuff.
And it's interesting, but imagine, just hold that for, because we're coming. I'm just mindful of time because we're coming towards the end of our session, our episode. Sorry, therapist. Bro, wait. Lord. So you're coming towards our episode. What I want to say is imagine that you went from being in the West End, around celebrities, you were living a high life, the name of stars, and then look where you ended up in.
Through the dirt.
In the streets.
In the street.
Homeless.
No friend. Nothing.
It's crazy, and this is where life.
Yeah, let's make it in. And again, this is where Claudio popped up again. And then I remember the night like it was yesterday, and I'll never forget that night to the day I go. I was sitting in the steps of the Plaster police station, and he drove past, and he drove back, and he was just like, "What are you doing here? What are you doing here?" I went to sign myself to the police station to go to Anchor House, hostel. The police officer called them. They were like, "Yeah, I got this young man here, blah, blah, blah. Okay, is he on drugs?" No, I don't see him. Like, is he alcoholic? No. Is he like homosexual? No, he's straight. Oh, no, he doesn't qualify. They just told me. And then the police officer was like, "What do you mean? You what? He's vulnerable. He's got a heart condition." Yeah, he doesn't qualify. Wow. Yeah, so that's when I saw that in his eyes, that's when I realized that men's help doesn't help. And he said, listen, I can give you a blanket. You can go sit outside until we open, and I'll find somewhere for you to go in the morning. And yeah, and I was outside. I drove past with his boys in the car. He's like, what are you doing here, cuz? What's going on, cuz? Blah, blah, blah. And it was like, oh, cuz I ain't got nowhere to stay. I have my bag here, blah, blah, blah. He told his boys to get out of the car. And he said, get in the car. I'm taking you to my house. So like, he took me, to this day, I'll never forget. And when I was at his house, I stayed with him for a little bit. And that's when I met his missus. And yeah, and like he just basically gave me a push. He's like, listen, I know this place where you can go, you can get yourself back in the place. He fixed me up a little bit. He gave me the opportunity to get myself back in, gave me another chance. And yeah, I remember going for my first proper job interview. I borrowed his tie. He's like, here you go, take a tie. I went to Motherwell, borrowed a shirt. I went to the interview and then I smashed it. I got a job and I was able to turn my life around.
What a testimony.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
So
literally.
You are now, what would you now say to
So,
your injured inner child? Because I know you said you made a closure, but I want to really know just quickly as we're ending.
Right,
What is that message to?
So,
what did you learn from? Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Like
what I learned to where I am now is that what saved me was having kids. And before after that, I went for a toxic relationship. Whatever the way, I won't say her name, but I went for a very toxic relationship. And when I got out of it, I met my fiance. And then we had kids quite early. And what led me to decide I need to change when I started becoming the father that I raised with to my children. But that's so the father that you wanted in your childhood is a child. So basically, I wanted to become different from him. Yeah, from your. But I could see traits of him coming out of me, which is anger. Yeah. You know what I mean? So the turning point was when I shouted at my son so much, and I could see that the tears in his eyes. He was crying, and he'd done something so minor, and I just flipped. And my partner said, "Listen, you need to change, otherwise you're going to lose us." And then I started seeking help. I tried to speak to him at first because I tried to get closure from him. This man's going to tell me, man up, man. And he was like, yeah, but that's a you problem, not mine. I did my job. You need to man up. Either that or your kids don't respect you. And I had a full conversation, arguing with this guy in the middle of Westfield, and my kids are there crying for my attention. Every time I spoke to him, me and my partner had a bad patch. But when I didn't, we had the happiest times. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go and heal. You be you. If you want to have a relationship in the future, you're more than welcome to, and your grandkids. But I need to heal with myself. That's beautiful. So you allowed yourself to let go of that. Let go of seeking admiration. And kind of accept, because sometimes you have to accept that person, because we're trying to almost like change that person to fit into the narrative that we want, like them to become for us. What led to it was that they're their own journey. This is what I'm saying. Is I said, you know what, I accept it. I'm never going to get recognition from me that I want. I'm going to go heal myself. I'm going to be a best dad that I can be. And I suffered with high blood pressure for a long time. I tell you, cause the day that I found out, that day that I finally realized, you know what, I'm done. This is the new me. My problems, my family, that's it. I went to the doctor to do a normal checkup. This woman checked my blood pressure. She looked at me. She looked at the results. She done it again. And she was like, oh, what have you done? And I was like, oh, go on then. How much off the roof is it now? She was like, it's perfectly normal. For the first time in my life, my blood pressure was normal. And it is crazy because under all the medications, nothing. She was like, this doesn't make sense. Your blood pressure is as if you never had high blood pressure. And from that moment when I finally realized that, you know what, I'm happy. Like, I can finally go out and speak that I'm a happy person that can go and help other people. Hey, amen. And with that said, there's so much to thinking, but that said, what is something that we close the show? Is I asked the guest if they could leave something that they sort of want to leave behind, maybe something that's not serving them this week or this past month, and just leave it in this space, and something that they want to like intentionally give themselves with. My advice would be just give yourself grace. So are you trying? No. What? Give who grace? Whoever's going through a hard time. Like, but how? No, but this is, I want you to gift yourself with something. Oh, gift myself something. 100%. Yeah. What do you want to let go in this space that's not serving you this past month of the week? Or what do you want to gift yourself with? I just want, at the moment I'm still healing. I'm not perfect. Yeah. It's a journey. I'm happy that I finally let go of the anger side of me, the angry side. I'm thinking outside the box now. I'm stepping out before I act. I used to be react and then think about it later. Now I'm changing that. Where I stop myself, so I stay in this. I put myself in a position of how the next person feel. I never used to care, but now I'm just like, okay, no, it's not gonna come out like that. It's disrespectful. So I've managed to take myself away from reacting angrily and reacting with emotional intelligence instead. So I'm trying to be at the point where I'm giving myself more emotional intelligence as an adult, so I can better portray the best part of me onto other people that I love. So this is what I'm working on at the moment, is letting go of my anger, giving myself more grace, not be too hard on myself, and taking each day as it goes.
And with that, we're gonna go. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Bye.